Hello, everybody, and welcome to Royalty in the Round, Wrestle Royalty's only video podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Sir Mitch, joined as always by the annoying Botch Reed, the classic Duke Dre, and, of course, Her Majesty herself, Queen Kendra Bunyan. But today we are joined by a very special guest, Mr. Tristen Law of Wrestle Ramble Radio. Tristen, how you going, big fella?
Oh, man, I'm so happy that you guys decided to have me on today. Dre, nice to meet you. Botch, we've been communicating on Twitter for a long time. Mm-hmm. So everybody out there listening, you can follow me on Twitter at @TheRealBigTris. Kendra, nice to meet you as well. And Mitch, thanks for introducing me. You know, professional wrestler for about 10 years now. Co-host of Royal Ramble Radio, which is live on RoyalRambleRadio.com. Every Thursday from 7 to 9. So, hey, you know, all your fans out there, check us out. And I have all my fans check you out. But let's talk some wrestling.
Yes.
Nice.
That was damn good right there.
Yeah, it
We're
was.
going to be talking about none other than the big news of Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman taking over executive director roles for Monday Night Raw and Tuesday night, soon to be Friday night, SmackDown, respectively. It's going to be a great show. Hopefully you'll tune in and watch us. Let's get started. Discussing the big news. Eric Bischoff, Paul Heyman taking over executive director roles for Monday Night Raw and soon to be Friday Night SmackDown, respectively. It's interesting times in the pro wrestling world. I mean, we can a lot to chew the fat here, but, you know, let's just get everybody's initial thoughts about what this means, what changes we're probably going to be seeing. And we'll start with our esteemed guest first. Tristen, give us your take on it all.
Thanks, Mitch. I think that Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman now in the wallet, let's say of Vince McMahon is a smart move by Vince McMahon himself, because Eric Bischoff said on a podcast, I believe it was on his podcast, 83 Weeks, that the only reason that he's not with AEW is because they haven't asked, but if they asked, he would go. So why would you, as Vince McMahon, would want to have your enemy, have your best assets? So you take your two enemies from back in the day, Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman, keep them close to you and see what you can do to compete. Because Vince McMahon has other responsibilities which are coming up in 2020. You know, some of us that may have been living underneath a rock and don't know, Vince McMahon is getting ready to restart the XFL. You know, so he might not be able to do WWE. So Eric Bischoff, Paul Heyman, it's a good deal for WWE, and I'm liking what I'm seeing already if they're in charge.
Well, from what we understand, everything still runs through Vince for now, but maybe that'll change. Who knows? Queen Kendra, give us your thoughts.
I have been calling for changes in some way with Vince stepping back for a very long time now. I've been quite vocal about this. I truly think that Vince is so out of touch with the fans. And there's an issue when, you know, the writers spend half the night writing a show and Vince then rips the show apart and we get the show written on the fly, and how bad some of those episodes have been. Mm-hmm. Heyman is a known entity. Bischoff is a known entity. While they've both had their issues in the past with Vince, Steph, Shane, Tripp running roughshod over them, I think we are in for some amazing shows.
Duke Dre, what do you reckon?
More than anything, I think it's important to have, you know, people in place that they're not gonna quiver at the very sight of Vince. You know, they're not just gonna back down and be automatic yes men. You know, Vince is gonna say something, they're gonna bark back. You know, and hopefully, you know, cooler heads will obviously prevail. But I think that's very important that a person like Vince surrounds himself with people that he respects and people that aren't gonna back down from him. And I think we've seen that with Heyman so far. You know, with Raw, we've seen the changes. SmackDown, you haven't really seen the changes yet. I guess Bischoff hasn't taken control yet, but you definitely see it over on Raw. I'm noticing it with a couple of stories. And I think that, like I said, it's important that you have people around you that are that can check your ego a little bit, I mean, Vince is Vince, and he has the right to feel the way he does. I mean, he's done it all, but every now and then you need to be brought back down to earth again. And so having guys like Bischoff and Heyman there, they kind of like, hey, let's bring it back down, or, just say, you need to listen to my idea. And they've done enough in the business where Vince he's gonna listen. So I think that's more than anything, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems creatively for a couple of years now is that nobody really stands up to Vince. Like he had really surrounded himself with in creative, not just in creative, but in his business life as well. Has surrounded himself with too many yes men. Nobody's willing to really say, "You sure about this, boss?" So it's that's always been one of my biggest things. Botch Reed, what do you reckon about all the changes that hopefully will come to pass?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing as Dre. I mean, we're in this interesting position now where we've got two guys who are coming in, neither of whom really need to. Like they don't need to be on the take. In other words, they don't. If something happens and Eric gets fired or something like that, it's not the end of his life or anything like that. He's perfectly fine. He doesn't need the job that desperately. As far as I understand it, Paul Heyman doesn't need it that desperately either. So they're both just kind of coming in more or less to have fun, which is great. And then, of course, as Dre was saying, both of these individuals are alpha personalities. They're used to running organizations and kind of used to running things. So they've got these giant egos, which I think is going to be kind of fun too, to kind of go along with Vince's. And they've got ideas that neither of them has really been able to use, because undoubtedly they've been watching something and they've had ideas that have been twisting around in their heads. It'd be nice to see kind of what they've been thinking and to see the direction that they take the two shows in. Because Kendra's right. I mean, for a while there, those shows were just wretched. I mean, it was just, I remember turning a few of them off. They were just hard to watch. And lately on the Raw side of things really have been better. The SmackDown was good, although apparently Eric Bischoff didn't have anything to do with that one this week, but it was still better. But but I think things are going to be very interesting when Eric starts to take over SmackDown. Things are already interesting with Paul Heyman taking over Raw, so I'm really looking forward to the direction these things go in.
Well, the reason why Bischoff hasn't really taken over SmackDown is not yet at least. Is because Heyman has been around the product for years now, and Bischoff has been away from the product for years, so he has to refamiliarize himself first. Yeah. So I'm sure he's been watching, obviously, and has ideas, but he has to, like I said, everything still runs through Vince, so he has to refamiliarize himself with the current creative process over there, and hopefully maybe once he has, he'll instigate some changes to said creative process, same as I'm sure Heyman would like to do. So. And about WWE Creative, I mean, after AEW's latest event, Fight for the Fallen, Goldust gave, Dustin Rhodes, I should say, gave an interview where he said it's nice to, pitch storylines and do stuff without 30 writers in the room. And because when he was speaking of WWE's creative process, because like I said, there's just so many people, so many voices in the, creative process in WWE now, and all of them are just looking to appease one person, not appease an audience. That for a while now we've gotten, as you've said, Botch, wretched shows. So yeah. And to your point, Tristen, about the only Bischoff claiming the only reason why he was not in AEW because he was never asked. I have a feeling that maybe there might have been a reason why he was not asked. No disrespect to him. Absolutely no disrespect to him whatsoever. But I think with those guys, they're looking to do something completely fresh, completely different. And they don't want... Obviously, they want people like Jim Ross and a few other, and Dean Malenko and a few steady hands, experienced hands around, but they want to, do something that's completely different. I think with Bischoff, I do have a slight fear that he might go to the well and pull up some stuff from WCW. I mean, the one thing I definitely don't want to see is him to be an on-screen character again. That's one thing I definitely don't want him.
I disagree.
So.
I completely disagree on that.
Really?
I think bringing Bischoff on TV, maybe not in a full authority role way Shane is right now, which is taking over, but Kevin Owens and all of that is working really well. I think bringing Bischoff on screen, shut up, Botch. Bringing Bischoff on screen will solidify a lot of things on SmackDown. I think he is a very good character, and they should use him for all they have him for, not just behind the scenes.
You don't think so, Tristen? Really?
No, I don't think so, because SmackDown's only 2 hours, and you have so many other talent that you're trying to get over. You know, they don't have enough time to get all those talent over, that they have to put the picture in the corner just to give them that extra wrestling time. So I think that Eric Bischoff, that he doesn't have to be a character. Paul Heyman was already a character. I think if you put both of them on TV, it's going to start to blur the lines a little bit, way too much. You know, he can still operate, you know, in his executive director role without being on television. The reason why I think, and to me, this just makes 100% sense, why Eric Bischoff is on SmackDown is because where is SmackDown going in October? SmackDown's going to Fox.
Yeah.
Eric Bischoff has lots of experience in shooting live television. He used to do a live television show back in the mid 1990s to the late 2000s. Some of us might remember it as Nitro or Thunder. You know,
yeah. I kind of remember that. Vaguely.
Yeah, remember that? He used to also do another show in the mid 2000s. You know, with this company called TNA. I don't know whatever happened to them, but he used to do
I got nothing.
So I think Eric Bischoff, his claim to fame is that he has a lot of experience in dealing with networks. So he can go ahead and bridge that gap and create the content that they are looking for, versus versus Heyman. They're already established, so all he has to do is build and go forward.
That makes sense.
Can I say something real quick too?
Yeah, of course.
Another thing that Bischoff was really good at in WCW, not so much like creating stars outside of a couple names like Goldberg and DDP, but he was very good at repackaging people, like he did with Hogan. You know, like he did with Sting, taking him from Surfer Sting to Scarecrow Sting. He took Scott Steiner out of a tag team, you know, repackaged him as Big Papa Pump. He kind of resurrected DDP's career. So he's always been really good at repackaging people. And, you know, and what's been the big thing with, what's been one of the biggest complaints over the years about, well, you know, Roman Reigns, you know, people don't like though he's being presented on TV or whatever. So maybe Eric Bischoff can maybe repackage him a bit, or I'm not saying turn him heel, but, you know, repackage him. A couple other people as well that he could possibly repackage, but that's one thing that Bischoff, yeah, her too. But Bischoff he's always been really good at just repackaging characters and giving them, you know, breathing new life into them. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
But one of the things. Sorry.
Go ahead, just.
One of the things when it comes to repackaging, and this is for me thinking as I'm running the WWE, I would be very hard pressed to repackage people like Bayley and Roman Reigns, because if you go to a WWE event, everybody has the Roman Reigns. All these kids have the Roman Reigns gauntlets on. They have the little vest. They sell those little cosplay costumes at the WWE events. So, like, if that's making you a lot of money, how can I say, hey, Roman, I'm going to have to repackage you? Roman might not even want to be repackaged because he's not going to get that royalty money. Now Bayley. Now Bayley's the same exact thing as well, too. You know, she's selling merchandise hand over fist. So it's like, yeah, it's nice to go heel. Like at a show, when I wrestle as a show and I wrestle heel, I don't sell merchandise because there's no reason why you should want me. If you want to do anything, go outside and slash my tires. I would appreciate for you to do that. Slash my tires and punch my unborn kid in the face. I don't have any kids, but that's what I need you to do when I'm a heel. But when I'm the baby face, I need you to appreciate me and love me and buy all my merchandise and follow me on social media. You do an intermission, when I'm a baby face, I hang out with the fans and say hi to them and shake their hands and take pictures. But when I'm the heel, I don't need you to take any pictures of me. So, like, if I was Bayley, I would not want to be repackaged. Roman Reigns, don't repackage me. You know, John Cena, you can't even repackage him. He sells the headbands, the T-shirts, you know.
It's not necessarily about repackaging Bayley. I don't think that's what Dre is saying, and it's certainly not what I think.
It's not what I'm saying.
I think it's less about repackaging Bayley as trying to help her to be a bit of a better actress, first of all, and then number two, give her a little bit, give her some real motivation, a la Becky Lynch. Like Becky Lynch found an axe to grind, and boy, is she grinding it. She's grounded all the way to the main event, and she's been fantastic. We need to find the same kind of thing for Bayley, because there's almost this apathy with Bayley, and even when she's called on to act and care about something, she's trouble doing it. I still remember the contract signing with Nikki Cross. She, bless her heart, she just couldn't get it done. I just didn't believe her. You know what I mean? Like I
see your point.
You know what? Like we need to find some way, or they need to find some way to make Bayley care, and I think that's the main issue with Bayley. It's not really a repackage; just make her care.
And all of her merch is still there, and all those little girls will completely keep buying the merch. She just needs a reason for, basically, for the adults to care.
True. Mm-hmm. And she could probably do that by turning up her aggression just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. When she started doing that just before she left Raw, she was so impressive.
Dude.
But then it was gone again.
The one night where she went after Sasha, it was beautiful. Now, granted, that was more of a heel thing, but she could have softened it a bit, and it still would have been incredible. But the point is, she cared. And the fact that she cared gave it a whole new slant, and I was all excited about Bayley for about 5 seconds, because it went away with no explanation. So just give her something to care about, and I'm good personally.
Give her some of what Nikki Cross has.
And just a little something, a little edge, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about repack, and then I'm going to go on about Reigns and Cena, because I've been outspoken about this. Tristan, you know, ask these guys. They hate me for it. But with Roman and Cena, yes, they sell a lot of merch. Yes, they're the biggest stars, and no one's questioning that. But I think the thing that gets more adult fans, obviously kids love them, and that's great, and they're doing a great job, you know, representing that and being role models for children. That's beautiful. But the thing about get adult fans tuning out is the fact that it's just like it's the same thing every time. You know, it's, you know, the Hulk Hogan, you know, big challenge overcomes every single time. You know, me personally, I would like to see guys like Cena and Reigns. Not obviously you can't do this a lot because you can't have your top star losing a great deal, but I would like to see a bit of character depth when, you know, they actually lose a feud every now and, not just a match, but actually lose a 3-4 match program against somebody, and then okay, this happened, I need to rebuild now. I would like to see that. I mean, this is a very vivid memory for me. This was a few years ago when Kevin Owens started out on the main roster. Then he had that great program with Cena. The last match in that program, Cena won. And I remember this vividly. They cut to a camera to the crowd. And I remember, you know, two adults, I think mid-20s, man, woman, boyfriend, girlfriend, I guess, were in the crowd. And behind them, there was a young mum and a kid. And the young mum and the kid were jumping up and down for joy. Yay, Cena won again, Cena won again, Cena won again. Something they've seen millions of times before. And then you see the adults in the front row with their hands like leaning against the guardrail, chins on their hands, thinking, again, can't he just lose one, make it interesting for the rest of us?
I remember that.
And I honestly, I agreed with those two. I don't think that's a ton to ask. So I don't think you need to repackage these people. I just think, you know, to make them interesting, yes, have them show more aggression. Yes, maybe blur the lines between heel and babyface. Let them be a bit of a tweener every now and then. And, you know, let them lose the occasional program and say, okay, I lost, I need to rebuild. I don't think that's a horrible thing. They're kind of doing that with Reigns now. Since he came back from, you know, his cancer treatment, he hasn't been in the main event. He's lost a couple of matches. You know, and you know, he's saying, okay, this happened, and he said more than once, okay, this happened, I now need to rebuild. And the fans are cheering him now. So, it's not rocket science.
Well, Eric was always very good at the polar opposite. You remember when the NWO took over, the NWO never never lost. Never, ever, ever, ever. And that can get rather tedious, too, if you recall how tedious that whole thing was when they would do these... Yeah, their own pay-per-view where nobody that was NWO won, or nobody that was NWO lost, rather. And you remember they would have these empty arena matches, too, where I remember when it was Pez Whatley was the referee, bless his heart, from the power plant at the time. And that because I'm old, I remember Pez Whatley when he was wrestling. But they, they would have these matches, and he would just toss the NWO member, whoever it was, be it Buff Bagwell or whomever, would just toss whoever the other guy was around. And it was very Kevin Sullivan in the way that they would do it, where they would just bake heat to the point that you just couldn't stand it, you know what I mean? And then at the opportune moment, they would release it. And that, just from a viewer's perspective, I'm not a wrestler, I don't know anything about that, but just as a viewer, like, that's what I want. Like, bake heat until I can't stand it. And then when I'm not expecting it, then let off the gas. And that gets me excited. Like, that's something I want to see. So I completely agree with you, Mitch, that seeing the face win constantly, it does get a little draggy after a while because you know what to expect.
It becomes predictable. The worst you can do in any creative medium, fictional medium, doesn't matter if it's wrestling, doesn't matter if it's just plain TV, cinema, whatever. If it becomes predictable, it becomes boring.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why when I used to live in Orlando, I used to go to. That's how I fell back in love with wrestling, because of TNA. I never forget the first event that I went to, and I know we're going off topic, but there's a point to this. I remember I stopped watching wrestling, and when I worked at Universal Orlando, one of my friends came to me and said, "Hey, you want to go watch wrestling?" I said, "Nah, man, I don't watch that anymore." He goes, "Come on, man, it's over here in the sound stages at Universal." I said, "Nah, man." I said, I gotta do something after work. He goes, "What do you have to do?" I didn't have a valid excuse. Then I go, "Okay, well, I don't have any money." He goes, "It's free." All right. So I went, and then Macho Man came back. So like I started going like every single event after that. Like the next night they did the Impact television tapings, and I went without him. That's how hooked I was. But the point I was trying to make was that Jeff Jarrett was the champion at the time, and Jeff Jarrett kept on winning. Every single pay-per-view, he'd beat AJ Styles, he'd beat Jeff Hardy, he'd beat everybody. And I'm like, why am I even staying here for the main event if I know that Jeff Jarrett's going to go over? Why am I wasting my time? So yes, it does get kind of stale, and it's lackluster. But I do think that what WWE should do is put something in there for us older fans. Like I don't know about the four of you guys, but I'm getting ready to go see The Lion King in a couple days. And there are some jokes in The Lion King that I probably didn't get back in the early 90s because I was too young.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get them now. And WWE should be presenting their programming like that, to where, which they are doing, that some things we're getting and some things are going over the kids' head.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm really glad they've stepped away from the PG and they've edged it up a little bit. My daughter was great watching it when it was PG and she was little, but she's bored with it now because she's a teenager.
Hippopotamus breath, remember that one? Hippopotamus breath, remember that one? Remember that cute little comeback from Roman from a few years back? Hippopotamus breath. He said hippopotamus breath like it was funny. It's just what you're talking about. PG needed to die. Like, just, come on.
That still wasn't as bad as Suffering Succotash, for crying out.
Oh, God, that's
What about Funky Crotch from Sith?
Wow, forgot about that. Tried to burn that from my memory, actually.
Yeah.
But like right now, pro wrestling, particularly WWE, is going through a whole revolution. It's going from like back in the day when Hulk Hogan was on top, it kind of was like a PG-esque, material, and then it became like PG-13, almost rated R, and then they had to scale it back because the fans, they eventually grow up,
Yeah.
And then the new fans come along. So at the time when they went PG, that's when WWE was at its low of its low, if you ask me. The stock wasn't doing that good, so they had to do something to attract money. So how do you attract money? You attract a new audience that's going to spend money. There's 5 of us here right now. If 5 of us don't bring kids, we only pay for 5 admissions. But if each of us bring our 3 kids, that's 15 kids that we're 15 tickets that we're buying.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So but now like you said, Kendra, your daughter's grown up. You know, your daughter's not into Barney anymore. She might be into, you know, Ninja Turtles. You know, so you have to give Power Rangers. You have to give her something that's still going to keep her hooked, because she's going to have kids one day, and then that's a new fan right there.
Exactly. And my oldest, I can't wait for her to have kids to introduce them to wrestling, because she loves it so much.
Yeah, that's kind of the tough line that Bischoff and Heyman have to walk, because it's just as Tristen said, like, it's not enough to appeal to adults or people who would normally watch TV at 8 o'clock in the evening through to 11. You got to get the kids, and you have to get the adults. So it can't be AEW, or it can't be MLW. It can't be any other wrestling organization. It has to appeal to everything, because they want that money. They're chasing the money, and why shouldn't they?
And the sponsors.
If it's there, take it and add revenue. Yeah, to Dre's point.
Right.
Yeah.
But both of these guys were at the top of their game in the PG-13, almost R era. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance that line of PG and more grown-up stuff without going over that extreme edge or that NWO edge.
I think they've done it wrong
back in the 90s.
Yeah. I think they've done it in a Raw the last few weeks, like you saw with Lashley and Strowman going through the set, and then you have the Mike and Maria storyline, which I think is kind of over the top. But
I love it. Are you kidding me?
It's not PG though. You know,
it's not.
You know, but it's a little. I don't know.
Well, another thing about
I love it
Bischoff,
dearly.
People don't remember this or realise this. WCW back in the day, NWO was white hot. It was actually a PG product. Edgy.
Oh, I know.
Because Bischoff knew how to do it. He knew how to be edgy without being dirty, and WWE at that point didn't know how to do that and didn't even try. They just went full on mud bath. And WCW mostly kept it clean, but it was still very edgy.
Right.
So he knows.
And then there's Heyman and ECW.
Oh yeah.
And the thing about you brought up AEW. I mean, this is going off kilter again, but you'll get where I'm coming from soon. I mean, thinking about AEW, when I think about New Japan, I think about all this stuff. WWE, bringing these two in and trying to be a bit more edgy. They're trying to get back the fans that they may have lost to New Japan or may have lost to AEW. Older fans, not even just older fans, just fans who thought. Not even just don't like the PG-ness of it, just don't like the WWE way of doing things, and they see all this great wrestling elsewhere, and they think, why am I watching WWE? Well, I can watch less silliness in New Japan and just see great in-ring action, or why can I watch WWE when I can watch AEW and see all these guys I've never seen before? And It's not so much obviously to our earlier points. There is something to say about older fans growing up and not wanting to watch anymore. But there is more deep seated issues creatively in WWE about storylines that are a little creative, storylines that are a little repetitive. I mean, your Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross stuff. I mean, that's been done twice before with Nia Jax and Mickie James.
But she's so good at it. She's so good at it. She is great slime.
Oh, yes.
But you know what, though? This storyline, if they want to do it different, I talk about it on my show, Royal Ramble Radio, a lot. I'm one of the advocates for that storyline, and I strongly feel that Alexa's going to end up getting the short end of the stick. And the reason why I feel that she's going to get the short end of the stick is because she's actually opened up. She gave Nikki Cross a gift during the pay-per-view. Say, here, take this shirt. What if, walk with me for a little bit, people that are listening and watching, what if Nikki Cross is the one doing the manipulating?
Remember I mentioned that? Remember I said that to you guys?
Yeah, Dre brought that up.
You did, and I've seen Tristen say it on Twitter as well, yeah.
I think that Nikki Cross would be a great heel for one reason. Why do you think that Nikki Cross would be a great heel?
Because she's nuts.
No, I think there's a different reason. Kendra, why do you think that Nikki Cross would be a good heel?
Because she is so versatile in everything we've seen her do. I know she has it in her.
No, there's a different reason. Dre, what do you think?
Oh man, that's a good one. I couldn't even tell you, man.
All right, Botch, what do you think?
I think there's an intelligence there that we've yet to scratch the surface of. That's what I'm sensing from Nikki. I'm sensing an intelligence that we've yet to even
You
broach.
mean
But
like her playing naive when she's really playing us the whole time?
that's what I'm thinking. But I think that Tristan's on something else. What are you thinking?
The next time Nikki Cross is in the ring on a microphone, listen to the audience. But don't listen to the audience. Listen to Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross, she doesn't talk that well on the microphone. Her accent is very strong, and it's hard to understand her. Yeah. So the fans are going, what? And they're going to start booing her. They're already doing it already. So because she can't speak, they hate her for it, and they will hate her for it even more.
I love it. It makes total sense.
If it works, I like it. I'm not sensing the hate, but if it works, by all means, if they can make that work, sure.
It's like the whole thing that I think with Asuka or Io Shirai. Io Shirai shouldn't speak English anymore. They should just speak Japanese.
I agree with you.
Because you see, the thing here, and anybody that's listening in America knows, America. We wave that flag very high here in America, and we don't like. Yeah, we don't like things that are really like un-American. So like if we can't understand you, we're just going to tune you out. And then we just boo you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think that's what's
sad but true.
That's going to be Nikki Cross's claim to fame when she becomes a heel. She's going to also get that rub from Alexa Bliss, because Alexa Bliss is going to be like, wait a minute, but I was your friend, and everybody's going to laugh at Alexa Bliss, but it's going to turn Alexa Bliss babyface.
But how is Alexa going to be babyface, though? She's such good slime.
I've always said that. I thought she'd make an even better face than she would have healed because of her real life story. I've always felt that way. But she's just that talented, though. She's just that talented.
I feel you on that. Okay.
She's a great mean girl, but Alexa is so cute. In some ways, you just want to like her.
And she's
she's just so petite and so cute. She's such a little girl in some ways that you just want to like her, no matter. Right. But on the other hand, she is one of the best mean girls they've ever had.
And I mean, I guess if they use her backstory, the anorexia nervosa, and if they use
she's been so open.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to. I wasn't thinking. You're right, Tristen. If they use all that stuff, then that would be a fairly easy way further. She could be an inspiration to other people who've gone through similar things, which then creates not only a storyline that's good for and friendly for kids, but also friendly for adults. You're right. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. Well, speaking personally, I still kind of miss the Nikki Cross from NXT, the screaming banshee that, didn't really speak anything but gibberish and still got cheered. But, that's probably a subject for another day because, sadly, we are out of time. So it's been a wonderful episode here of Royalty in the Round. We would like to thank Mr. Tristen Law for joining us today. We've had an absolutely wonderful time. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Be sure to check out Wrestle Ramble Radio. Have a wonderful time, Wrestle Royalty community. We've had a wonderful time with you. Too sweet us. See you guys later.